Okay, so let's unpack this. You think you know fantasy, right? You picture the swords, you picture the castles,
Right.
maybe a dragon or two torching a thatched roof village just to set the mood. It's the standard fare.
The classics.
Exactly. It's comfort food for the imagination. But then, every once in a while, a book lands in our stack that looks like one thing on the cover, big dragons, brooding warriors,
Right.
the whole high fantasy aesthetic.
Sure.
But inside, it is doing something completely different. It's operating on a frequency that is just visceral.
It really is. It's the difference between a story about a battle and a story about the people fighting it. And more importantly, the scars they carry into that fight.
Yes. And today we are diving deep into Flameborne Fury by Aimee Lynn. And I have to say, just looking at the surface, you might think, okay, cool, Dragon Riders. I've seen this movie. I know the drill.
I mean, we've all read that book.
We have. But the mission for this deep dive is to move way past the surface level dragon romantasy tropes. We aren't just here to talk about fire breathing and flight mechanics, though, those are cool.
They are very cool.
We're going to get into the messy, uncomfortable, and frankly, incredibly compelling emotional landscape of this book.
Because it really is a landscape dominated by trauma. That's the core here. We're looking at a high fantasy world Vosgard, which is ruled by these elite dragon riders called Fury Knights.
Right.
But the engine driving the plot isn't just some quest to defeat the bad guy on the border. It's the collision of severe past trauma, rigid military duty, and a love story that is, well, calling it complicated is an understatement.
Complicated is definitely putting it mildly.
Right.
We're talking about a central tension between the absolute highest-ranking General Donavyn and the very first female dragon rider in history.
Yeah.
Ben. And if you think that sounds like a recipe for disaster, well, you are spot on. But it's the kind of disaster that you just cannot look away from.
It's a disaster waiting to happen on multiple fronts: political, personal, and psychological. And what defines this book is that it doesn't shy away from the ugliness of those conflicts.
So before we get into the heavy stuff, and it does get heavy, so consider this your heads up, let's set the stage properly. What exactly are we looking at with the source material today?
We have a really comprehensive stack this time. We're working with the narrative chapters of the book itself, which gives us that crucial dual perspective.
For love.
It's so necessary here because we're in Bren's head, feeling her insecurity, and then we're in Donavyn's head, feeling his internal conflict.
And we also have some supplemental stuff too, right?
Yes. We have the Voices of Emberquell glossary, which is essential for understanding the hierarchy here, plus some really detailed maps of the geopolitical landscape: Firehold, Ashthorn, and the Dragon Maw Cliffs.
And those internal monologues from the chapters are just gold, because this isn't just about what they say to each other out loud. It's about the war happening inside their own head.
Precisely. The unique nature of this source material is that it presents itself as a romance, but it reads like a psychological study of a survivor trying to exist in a hyper-masculine structure.
Right.
Bren isn't just the girl. She is a survivor of something horrific, trying to become a warrior in a system designed by and for men.
Let's define that system a bit for everyone. We have the Fury Knights. Who exactly are these guys?
The Fury Knights are the elite. They are soldiers bonded to dragons, but this isn't like riding a horse. The bond is telepathic, absolute, and lifelong.
The dragon chooses the rider.
Exactly. It's a symbiotic relationship that alters the human physiology and psychology.
And if you're a trainee in this system, you're called a Flameborne.
Right. And Bren is a Flameborn, but she's an anomaly. She is the first woman to ever be chosen by a dragon, so she's already under a massive microscope.
Everybody's waiting for her to fail.
Oh, absolutely. And then there's the General Donavyn.
The general. He is the archetype of the good man. He is rigid, he is honorable, he follows the rules to the letter.
He believes that order and discipline are what keep the world from falling apart.
And naturally, these two are drawn together. I mean, come on. As readers, we love a fated mates situation. The tension is delicious.
It is.
But here's where it gets really interesting for this deep dive. It's not just, I want you, but I can't have you. It's, I want you, but my trauma tells me you're dangerous, and your honor tells you I'm a mistake.
That's the crux of it right there. And it's a fascinating dynamic to unpack because while you might be excited about the romance tropes, and they are definitely there, we have to point out the minefield they're walking through.
Right.
This isn't just a forbidden office romance. This involves psychic bonds that, if mishandled, can literally kill the people involved.
So let's jump right into Act 1, the spark and the shame, because this is the inciting incident that sets the tone for everything. We open with a scene in the dragon stables.
It's incredibly atmospheric. Aimee Lynn does a great job here. Dust motes dancing in the sunlight, the smell of fresh straw. It's intimate. Donavyn and Bren are alone.
And there's this resonance. They don't understand it yet, but the air is practically vibrating between them, and they kiss.
And it's not a polite, tentative kiss.
No. It's described as a devouring. It just spirals completely out of control.
But watch what happens immediately after. This is key to understanding Donavyn's psychology. He snaps out of it. And his reaction isn't to say, wow, that was intense.
Not at all.
His reaction is horror.
He practically runs away from her. He starts apologizing profusely. He says things like, I'm so ashamed of myself, I've dishonored you. He's just spiraling.
This is Donavyn's core character flaw disguised as a virtue. He is obsessed with being the example of leadership. He views his desire for her, an apprentice, subordinate, someone younger, as a massive failure of discipline.
Right.
He frames his withdrawal as honor. He honestly thinks he is protecting her by pulling away.
But we get Bren's internal monologue here, and she doesn't hear, I'm protecting your honor. What does she hear?
She hears rejection, pure and simple. And because of her past, which the author only gives us hints of at this point, she interprets his shame as disgust.
It's just so tragic to read.
It really is. She thinks he kissed me, realized who I really am, realized I'm broken, and now he's disgusted by me.
She literally flees the stable. She runs to the mineral pools to wash the shame off her skin. Her internal monologue in that chapter is just brutal. She genuinely believes she's unlovable.
It's a classic tragic miscommunication, but instead of being based on a silly misunderstanding, it's rooted in deep-seated self-loathing on her part and rigid perfectionism on his.
But thankfully, we have a third party in this relationship who sees right through both of them.
The real MVP of the story. Kagose.
Yes, Kagose, Donavyn's dragon. He is a massive black primarch, the absolute leader of the dragon herd, and he is having absolutely none of Donavyn's self-pity.
Not a drop of it. Donavyn is in his quarters beating himself up, and Kagose basically tells him, you are acting like a hatchling. The fumbling of a hatchling, I think, is the exact translation from the Emrakul glossary.
It's so good. It's this profound philosophical debate between man and beast. Donavyn is arguing all these societal rules, rank, age, duty.
These are human constructs.
Right, and Kagose's arguing soul truth.
Kagose drops an absolute bomb on him in that scene. He asks, what if God gave you to her? It reframes the entire conflict. Donavyn sees the attraction as a temptation to do wrong. Kagose suggests it might actually be a divine mandate. It really highlights the contrast between human laws, which are restrictive and fear-based, and dragon laws, which are instinctual and truth-based.
And while Donavyn is having this massive existential crisis, thanks to his dragon, the plot is thickening over in the castle. Enter the king.
King Alexei. And Queen Diana. Now we are moving into Act 2, the political gamble.
This part made my blood boil while I was reading the source material. The king and queen decide to send Bren on a secret mission.
Without telling Donavyn.
Exactly. She's an apprentice. She hasn't even earned her full rank yet. And they send her alone to scout enemy lines.
It's a very cold calculation by the monarchy, and it reveals exactly what they think of Bren. To them, she is an expendable asset.
The king's logic is chilling. We get this from a war room scene. He literally says, if she fails or dies, it's no loss, because she's unranked, and quite frankly, because she's a woman.
No loss, remember that phrase. That is the rot at the core of this entire system. The Fury Knights talk endlessly about honor and protection, but the man at the top views the first female rider as completely disposable.
It's sickening.
If she succeeds, great, they gain some intel. If she dies, well, who cares? It solves a political headache for them.
But Donavyn cares. When he finds out she's gone, and he hears the king's reasoning, he is furious. His honor is genuinely offended by how dishonorable the king is being.
But he can't exactly punch the king in the face.
Not yet, anyway. So he does the only thing he can do. He chases her. There's a massive storm raging over the Dragon Maw cliffs, literal and metaphorical storm.
And this leads to the reunion in the storm. He finds her out there, and this time, they can't deny the pull. It's physical, yes, but it's heavily magical now.
And we finally get the dragon reveal. We find out why the pull is so impossibly strong. Kagose, Donavyn's dragon, and Aimee, Bren's dragon, are mates.
Which, according to the lore in the glossary, is a huge deal. Dragons do not mate lightly in Vosgard. And if the dragons are mates, the riders are inextricably bound.
It essentially forces Donavyn's hand. He realizes he isn't fighting a simple lapse in discipline. He is fighting the creator's plan. He finally accepts Bren as his mate.
And there's always a bit, but in these stories, they can't just ride back to the castle holding hands and announce it to the world.
No, this introduces the conflict of secrecy. After the reunion, Bren is terrified. She pleads with him to keep it a secret.
And if you look at it from her perspective, her argument makes total sense. She wants to earn her rank on merit. She knows the politics of Ashthorn. She knows that if people find out she's sleeping with the general, everyone will just say she slept her way to the top.
She refuses to be seen as the general's toy.
It's a very valid fear in a hyper-masculine, highly critical environment. She wants to be respected as a Fury Knight first.
And Donavyn's argument, he wants to claim her publicly to protect her. Because he hates living a lie. His whole identity is built on truth and honor.
Right. They eventually agreed to a temporary secret, but the cracks in this plan are showing almost immediately.
Which brings us to Act 3. The raising and the rupture. It's the absolute climax of the emotional arc, and wow, does it go wrong fast.
It starts on such a high note, too. Bren returns from her scouting mission successful. She proved herself. The king allows her to be raised to full Fury Knight status immediately.
It's this massive celebration. The atmosphere is great. Her squad brothers are there. They are so proud of her. Donavyn actually gets to pin the badge on her. Everyone is happy. And then, chaos.
Just utter chaos. A squad mate named Saul, he's caught up in the moment. He's happy for her. They've been training together. He tries to kiss Bren.
It's meant as a surprise gesture. Just a celebratory kiss on the cheek or the mouth, just caught in the adrenaline. But Bren doesn't see it that way at all.
She reacts with pure, blind terror. She violently recoils from him. It's a full-blown panic response. And Donavyn sees this happen.
And because of the mate bond they now share, Donavyn doesn't just see it. He feels her fear. But his reaction is this overwhelming protective rage. He steps in, and he is intense.
And this is where the trauma overrides all logic. Donavyn is trying to comfort her, but he's vibrating with rage at Saul. Bren is already severely triggered by the sudden physical contact from Saul.
So she feels Donavyn's intensity through the bond, and she snaps.
She mentally severs the bond.
Let's pause here. We really need to explain the gravity of this for anyone who isn't familiar with the deep lore of Vosgard. In this world, a bond isn't just a relationship status.
Not at all. It is a psychic lifeline. It's a physical and mental cord connecting two souls. Snapping it isn't a breakup. It is an act of violence against the soul.
It physically drops Donavyn. He collapses on the floor. He's effectively suffocating because that spiritual lifeline was just violently ripped out of him.
And Kagosi loses his mind.
The dragon literally tears the roof off the building. He goes feral. He is furious at Bren for hurting his rider.
This is the moment of judgment. Kagosi, acting as the bond breaker, gives Bren a terrifying ultimatum. Speak the truth you fear or die.
This scene in the book is so intense. Bren is sobbing. She is terrified of the dragon. She is terrified for Donavyn, and she is forced to confess her deepest shame in front of this ancient creature to save the man she loves.
And what is the confession? It's not that she's afraid of Donavyn's anger. It's that she is afraid of him. She is afraid of men. She's afraid of power because she has been broken before.
I'm afraid of him because I've been broken before. That admission, it's the key to everything. Kagosi accepts this vulnerable truth. The bond is restored, saving Donavyn. But now the secret is out between them. The trauma is laid bare.
And this leads us directly into Act 4, the ghost of the past. Because to truly heal the bond, to fix the rupture, Bren has to show Donavyn exactly why she was so triggered. She has to share the memory.
And this is definitely the hardest part of the source material to read. It's the flashback, the truth about Ruin.
We finally get the narrative of her trauma. We see Bren as a young farm girl, before the dragons, before the military. She fell for a farmhand named Ruin.
She trusted him. Completely.
And he betrayed that trust in the vilest way possible.
He invited his brothers, who were other future Fury Knights, to the loft where they were. It was a gang rape, orchestrated by Ruin specifically to show her off to his squad.
And the aftermath is almost as bad. Her own father blaming her for it, telling her no good man will ever want you.
That is the voice Bren has been hearing in her head every single time Donavyn looked at her. That is exactly why she thought Donavyn was ashamed of her back in the stable in Act 1.
But Donavyn's reaction to this memory is everything. This is a turning point for his character.
Because he witnesses it firsthand through the bond. He lives the memory with her. And we see a massive shift in him. All of his confusion about her behavior is gone. It's replaced by a cold, murderous clarity.
He finally realizes that her flinching around him and the other knights wasn't shyness. It was a survival instinct.
And then we get this incredible emotional beat. He validates her. He tells her they are the ones who carry the burden of shame, not you.
That is such a crucial step in her healing. To hear the honorable general, the symbol of the very institution that broke her, shift the blame entirely from her back to the perpetrators.
It's powerful, but
Yeah.
there is a complication, a massive plot-altering complication.
Which brings us to Act 5, the strategy of vengeance. Because when Donavyn is watching that memory, he recognizes the men in the loft.
He knows them. And specifically, he knows Ruin.
Ruin isn't just some random farmhand anymore. Ruin is a lieutenant in the Fury Knights. He's a rising star. And worst of all, he is the king's personal favorite project.
This is such a brilliant narrative trap by the author, because naturally, Donavyn wants immediate blood. He wants to walk out there and kill Ruin. But he can't.
He absolutely can't.
And you might think, why not? He's the general. He outranks him.
Because of the strict dragon law we learned about in the glossary, if a Fury Knight kills another Fury Knight without a formal trial, the dragons will execute the killer. If Donavyn kills Ruin in a blind rage, Kogossi will be forced by his own nature to kill Donavyn.
So he's totally stuck. He has to navigate the king, who adores Ruin and views women as disposable anyway. He has to navigate the rigid dragon laws. And on top of all that, Ruin is currently stationed in Draventhal, which is enemy territory, acting as a spy.
It forces Donavyn to show restraint. He has to play the long game. He realizes he might be the only one with the power to actually bring Ruin down, but he has to choose strategy over vengeance. Kogossi actually counsels him on this, saying vengeance is not justice.
That is such a hard pill to swallow as a reader. You just want him to burn it all down. But he has to be smart.
He does, and importantly, he has to learn to trust others. During this whole crisis, Bren's squad, her brothers, Ronan, Gil, the guys she trained with, they arrive. They sense the massive dragon disturbance when Kogossi tore the roof off.
And the tension there is so thick because they surround Bren to protect her, which ironically triggers Donavyn's possessiveness. But Donavyn has to look at these men, these Fury Knights, and trust them to protect her while he goes to deal with the political fallout.
He has to trust that there are good men in this system, despite the horrors he just witnessed in her memory.
Which brings us to the resolution, or really the setup for the larger conflict. Act 6, the meeting with the king.
Donavyn goes back to the palace. He has to face King Alexei and Queen Diane to explain why his dragon just destroyed a building, and the honorable general lies.
He straight up lies to the king. He tells him the dragon disturbance was just a glitch in the bond caused by Bren's stress. He completely hides the rape revelation, and he hides the true depth of the maid status.
It's a high-stakes power play. The king tries to assert dominance over him, but Donavyn subtly threatens the king by comparing his own loyalty to the queen's influence. It's a very dangerous political game.
And speaking of the queen, Queen Diane, she is quite the wild card in all of this.
She really is. We get a brief mention of a proposition she made to Donavyn earlier in the book, which he rejected. She clearly knows a lot more than she lets on. He's an unpredictable variable moving forward.
She gives Bren this incredibly cynical advice at one point, telling her that Donavyn's heart is only on loan, just stirring the pot.
But Donavyn stands his ground through all the politics, and the act ends with this thick irony. The king orders Donavyn to hunt down the quote-unquote enemy, meaning the foreign threat, completely oblivious to the fact that the real enemy, Ruin, is his own favorite soldier.
And that's where the main narrative leaves them. The stage is just perfectly set for the sequel.
So let's zoom out a bit. What are the key takeaways from this deep dive?
I think there are two major themes we need to distill from the sources. First is the theme of healing. The book makes it abundantly clear that healing isn't linear.
Right.
Bren succeeded as a knight. She completed the mission. She got the pin. But she still fell apart as a survivor in that moment with Saul. The story highlights that trauma doesn't just vanish because you get a promotion or you find a supportive partner. That's such a powerful takeaway. You can be incredibly strong and still be broken at the same time.
Yeah.
The two aren't mutually exclusive.
Exactly. And the second major theme is honor. We watch Donavyn's entire worldview evolve. He starts the book with this rigid, rule-following honor. I can't kiss you because it breaks protocol.
Yeah.
But by the end, he has developed a much more protective, primal honor. He learns to value people over protocol. He is literally willing to lie to his king to protect the woman he loves.
He bends his own rules for the right reasons. And that brings us to the cliffhanger. The couple is bonded. The secret is, well, safe-ish for now. But the abuser is still out there. Ruin is powerful, he is protected by the crown, and he is rising in the ranks.
The stage is set for a war that is going to be both deeply personal and national. The external enemy is at the gates of Vosgard, but the internal enemy, the rot within the Fury Knights themselves, is arguably much more dangerous.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it leaves you with a final provocative thought to chew on after you close the book. In a world where honor is treated as the absolute highest currency, what happens when the most honorable institution, the Fury Knights, is actually rotting from the inside out?
Does true justice require burning the entire system down? That's the question you have to ask yourself.
And that is exactly what we will be looking for in the next installment. A massive thank you to our listeners for joining us on this deep dive into Flameborne Fury. It's a heavy one, but is so worth exploring.
Absolutely.
Catch you on the next deep dive.
Stay curious.